Hello, and welcome to the second episode of what I think is going to be the car series for the greater Kansas City Resiliency Network. My name is Aaron. I'm your host. I'm the guy who kind of started this whole thing. Right now, we're still in very much the startup phase. I have a business, Unicorn Promise, that's hopped on board. We're going to be getting some revenue from them to advance our projects. And the big question that I want to answer with this episode is, what do I mean by resiliency? What does that mean? I mean, on an organizational standpoint, uh, usually resiliency means disaster recovery. Something's gone dreadfully wrong, infrastructure's knocked down, maybe a tornado's come through, things like that. And while that is part of what we're doing, there's other forms of resiliency. When you apply it to like a household, what does resiliency mean? And that's something that I think is something that a lot of people are probably more impacted by, because there's a lot of people who, including us, even people like me, often are at a point where they've been they're financially overstressed by job loss, or having to take a lower paying job than what they did before, and suddenly things are very tight. And so part of the whole concept of resiliency is helping make sure that people and households are in a position where a sudden financial shock isn't going to sink them. I mean, you look at the numbers, and um, a lot of households can't even scrape together $500 to cover an emergency. And so for me, financial resiliency for a community means that we have a better buffer. We have a bigger buffer. We have the people and families have the capacity to withstand a bit higher shock. Now, we can't fix all the problems out there, right? But there's one area that is really under a lot of pressure right now, and that's true across the country, but particularly with housing and rentals. It's when I hear discussions of, oh, there's a concerted effort to raise rents by 20% because the market is undervalued or whatever from the investor's standpoint. When I see what I hear, how my brain interprets that is a whole bunch of people are suddenly going to not be able to afford to live with it where they are. And the only way that I can think of to really effectively combat that is to be able to provide housing ourselves. And that really is the kind of at the center of this, is because we have all these different projects and programs that we're hoping to spin up, and we want to be able to make the city, the urban area, the suburban area, the metropolitan area. We want to make it uh, more resilient against other larger kind of natural disasters, logistics issues, stuff like that. But that is not nearly as common as it is for families to be kind of pushed over the brink and have to go through all that stress and trauma. And I mean, it does produce trauma in people. That's uncertainty. It leads to kids growing up with lifelong anxieties regarding access to food or clothing or whatever, which shapes them in ways that are often unrecognized. Like, well, why are they that way? Well, it might have something to do with things that happened when they were a child, and that's something that on a personal level, really, I react to, obviously, because my reaction is, oh, let's put together something that can help prevent this, and and that's really that's part of this. Is honestly, we're trying to raise money to buy a house, not a big house, a decent house, one that rent will be charged for, but according to a formula that I kind of put together, that kind of takes into account something of the thing is we're not looking to make a profit according to a formula that, for, oh, we want to pay back a mortgage, we want to do all this stuff. No, that isn't sustainable. We want to be able to do this without having to pay for using other people's money, using bank money, and which might strike you as odd because I work at a bank, um, but I don't want to pay interest on this stuff. I don't want to pay interest on my own stuff. I don't want an organization like this paying interest where it doesn't have to. Part of this is kind of not. I mean, we have to live in society, right? I'm not advocating that we go live out in the countryside and basically be Mennonites in our approach to things, because you can't do that with an urban population like this, right? There's too many people. We've made the shift has been made to, we are an urbanized society, and because of the concentration of people, the concentration of wealth, there tend to be imbalances, and those imbalances lead to a lack of resiliency. And the scope of what we're doing might seem to be huge to people. We're not focusing. We are not going to be able to, buy up all the houses and, make sure everybody has housing. We can't do that. We don't have the capacity for it. And no matter how wildly successful this venture is, it's not going to. But we can help a couple households. We can help a few households. I don't know, maybe we could help 100 households, 1,000 households. I mean, that would make a big difference, right? And as things progress, suddenly more and more people aren't paying as much for rent. And that will eventually affect rental prices elsewhere if it's something that predominates in an area. I think when they look at comps, it's 6 blocks in each direction is the standard. So if we can lower that a little bit. On the other hand, they'll probably just change the if they don't like what they measure. If an industry doesn't like the results of their measuring, they can just adjust it to exclude certain cases that they feel should be excluded, and that's fine. But at least what we can control isn't going to be part of the problem. We're going to enable households to be more self-sufficient, to be more resilient to financial shocks. again, we can't solve every problem. We're not trying to solve every problem for all of society. My approach is the approach that a lot of groups take is try to affect as many people as possible, and I believe more in rather than dealing with a couple of surface issues with a larger number, deal with substantial issues with a smaller number, because I think that's where you get the most sustainable results. I think that that's where you get the greatest resiliency, and that's really the kind of the approach that we're taking with this. And yeah, we're trying to get $200,000 for our first house, and that's going to take us a while. Probably won't be for before the end of the year. Might not be for 2 more years. I don't know. And that's going to be money to purchase a house, and money to make it habitable if or upgrade it to a reasonable level, and money to pay for a reasonable amount of maintenance as we start getting income from it. And honestly, I'm not putting I'm calculating things as having a 30-year payback period at 0 interest, and that's gonna drive a lot of business types crazy. But you look at the underlying value of the land and of the property itself, and we're gonna the balance sheets are gonna be clean on it, but people aren't gonna be paying according to how I've kind of calculated things. Generally speaking, a house that currently rents for $1,400, we could rent for $800, and we can still be paying for property maintenance and help pay for people to maintain it and things like that. And that's kind of where we're at, and that's a big goal right there, right? In the meantime, we got a booth at a place called the Painted Tree in Overland Park here in the Kansas City area. It's on 135th Street. It's the booth is labeled with Unicorn Promise, and we have freeze-dried food that we're selling there. We also have we have a freeze dryer that we don't run all that much. We have a 3D printer. It's a small one, but it's a 3D printer, can do multiple colors, and we're willing to rent both of those out on a hourly basis or a cycle basis or whatever, so that if people want something done that we haven't provided, we can take your inputs and we can make an output, and that's kind of where we're starting at right now. And we're looking for members to be involved. The members, largely it's a financial contribution, $10 a month, and we have a couple of other services that we can throw in for you, like an online personal shopping service. We'll be talking about that later on, and we have some more things that are kind of in the works. Be opening up Pokemon cards online, which is a popular thing for people to be watching, and just talking about stuff. This is going to be a regular series. It'll be about 15 minutes per episode, done here in my car. Just calling it the Car Series, and it's going to be thrown up on YouTube. It'll be on our website, gkcinfo.com. And easiest thing to help us out is to interact with the YouTube channel. It's all about metrics. Subscribe, like, leave a happy comment, whatever. It can be very easy to get involved and to help us out. And we'll be talking later, and I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it.